So a few weeks back now, I've released 2 back-to-back videos where I first ranked every senior major international tournament Messi has played in, followed by every tournament Ronaldo's played in. Now, I guess the next logical step would have been to rank every single tournament either of them played in one final list, but that's kinda boring. I'll basically have to find new things to talk about for the exact same entries. So instead, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my man's suggestion here and pit each of Messi and Ronaldo's corresponding tournaments against one another. But first, remember 2 things. Number 1, Ronaldo's actually played 3 more tournaments than Messi, something even I'd forgotten in the last video. So here, his 2017 FIFA Confederations Cup as well as his last 2 Nation League outings won't be addressed as there's no corresponding Messi tournament for those. And number 2, here's how this will work. So when it comes to World Cups, well, that's pretty easy. They both played in 5 each. So it's just a case of pitting them directly against each other. But for the other tournaments though, this is the deal. So from 2004 to 2015, the Copa/Euros I'm going to pit against one another will be approximately 3 years apart because, well, Ronaldo is about that much older than Messi and began earlier. So for example, it will be Euro 2004 versus the 2007 Copa America, Euro 2008 versus the 2011 Copa America, Euro 2012 versus the 2015 Copa America. But then it switches, because for the very first time in their careers, their continental competitions took place in the same year, as in Euro 2016 and Copa America Centenario, or whatever it was called. And funnily enough, by the way, since 2016, these guys had an international tournament in the same year, practically every year. So that means it will be Euro 2016 versus Copa 2016, Euro 2020 versus Copa 2020, and you get the drift. If not, feel free to rewind and rewatch as many times as possible. Also, here's the criteria. Anyways, let's take a look back at every major tournament Messi and Ronaldo have played in and see who's really been the international GOAT. Let's roll up. Number 1, Euro 2004 versus Copa 2007. Well, this is probably as direct of a comparison of separate campaigns as we're gonna get. Both guys were in their first major continental tournament for their country, both were the danger man for their country, and both reached the final with their country. But I do feel Ronaldo was more important for Portugal than Messi was for Argentina. I mean, to get the most goals and assists for your country at a major tournament where they reached the final at 19 years of age, while facing significantly harder opposition on average, good stuff this. Point Ronaldo. Number 2, the 2006 World Cup. Okay, so this was a much easier decision. In fact, it's probably one of the easiest decisions on this video, considering this is basically Ronaldo's best World Cup versus Messi's least featured World Cup. Like, don't get me wrong, Leo wasn't bad when he came on or anything. After all, he did score in his debut. But facts are, CR7 was once again Portugal's best player, but this time in their best performing World Cup since 1966, where he was the standout performer for his country in every single game he played in, bar one. Which one? The one where he had to be stretchered off. Says it all really. Point Ronaldo. Number 3, Euro 2008 versus Copa 2011. Well, ain't this shit? We have a pair of pretty poor or below par performances from a pair of players people perceive to be at the pinnacle of the profession they partake in. Though the difference was, while Ronaldo's Euros was disappointing, i.e. an exciting display against Turkey, goal and an assist against Czech Republic, but then largely disappearing against Germany in the quarters, Messi's Copa was outright bad, i.e. a good performance against Costa Rica and, well, that was about it. Not even sure if he played in the rest of the games that tournament. He did. Point Ronaldo. Number 4, the 2010 World Cup. Okay, I'm not trying to make excuses for either of them, but to be fair, both Messi and Ronaldo were hard done by their managers' tactical setups in this tournament. For Argentina, they were a little too top heavy and Messi had to operate a little deeper than he was used to at the time. And for Portugal, it was far too defensive with close to zero intention of getting out of their own box. This understandably left both men frustrated, though only one of them voiced his displeasure in public. I'll let you work out which one. Now, having said all that, given the lack of support he had, the opposition he had to face, not this one, and the relentlessness of his game against Ivory Coast and Brazil whenever he did manage to get on the ball, honestly, our boy Bicho takes this one pretty convincingly. Point Ronaldo. Number 5, Euro 2012 versus Copa 2015. The first entry on this list where both men turned in banging displays. And ironically, Messi once again had to operate in a more withdrawn role for Argentina. The difference this time? Well, he was 5 years older and had actually gotten used to dropping a little deeper at times. And despite actually having a tougher collection of opponents than Argentina usually get in these tournaments, La Pulga was still his side's most consistent performer. However, as far as this list goes, he just has the misfortune of going up against what I believe to be CR7's greatest tournament ever. This was right at the heart of the one-man team era for Portugal, and had this side not had this man to hang everything on going forward while they defend for their lives and try and squeeze past side after side, you really think this side would have even qualified, let alone missed the final by literal inches, despite having to face the actual top 3 teams from the previous World Cup? Let that sink in for a second. Cause my friends, this is what you call goated impact. Point Ronaldo. Number 6, the 2014 World Cup. Whew. Okay, relax, listen up. I was wrong about something. Because you see, despite Ronaldo bagging a goal and what was probably the assist of the tournament for another abomination of a Portugal side, I ranked 2014 as his worst performing tournament. And in hindsight, yeah, that was pretty harsh. It's probably not the worst. It's probably the second worst. Sorry fanboys, but facts are he still got knocked out in the first round. Not to mention his friend down south made it to the last round. And yes, as I said in Messi's ranking video, he was largely anonymous in the knockout rounds, including that last round. But when it comes to assessing the 2014 World Cup in the context of this video, yeah, there's no competition who wins. Cause while most of his peers were still trying to seemingly get the blood flow in their legs and get going during the group stages, Leo was on point from game 1, and as I've also alluded to in the other video, it was mainly because of him that they topped that group. Point Messi. Number 7, Euro 2016 versus Copa 2016. Okay, for some reason we haven't really had too many such cases so far in this video, but yeah, this is basically another banger versus banger. Messi racking up a crazy 9 goal contributions on his way to another final, and if it wasn't for that one kick of a football, man, this would have been remembered so differently. But honestly, try to ignore that one moment and, well, also try to ignore the caliber of opposition and just go back and watch Messi that tournament. Not many could keep up with him. But if there was someone who could, it was the Portuguese fella in France that summer. Leading his country to their very first trophy in history, CR7 was the beaming hope for his nation, just like he had been for close to a decade up to that point. And despite sitting out, well, hopping out the majority of the final due to injury, without his heroics, Portugal would have, well, quite literally not even made it out of the group phase. Skill, courage, leadership, clutchness, all rolled in one, was Ronnie's Euro 2016. Point Ronaldo. Number 8, the 2018 World Cup. So this was probably the last tournament during this era where Portugal were a quote-unquote one-man team. And to be fair, they damn sure did look it for most of this tournament. And as I said in the Ronaldo video, the 2018 World Cup is quite unfairly looked at CR7 only shining in 1 game. Because in reality, he was at least good in 3 games and average for the last one. Though considering they did bow out in the last 16, it's hard to think of this too highly. But even then, you can damn sure think of it higher than Messi's 2018 World Cup, because in what was the last tournament where Portugal were fully reliant on Ronaldo, this was the last tournament where Argentina were fully reliant on, well, actually trying to play fair football, because it was not long after they were knocked out by France that they succumbed to Scaloni's skeevy school of scaling down skills and focusing on scraping and scrabbling to success via sketchy means scouted as screwy and scummy in the scope of the skeptics. More on that later. But yeah, as for 2018 itself, fairly poor from Leo. So, point Ronaldo. Number 9, Nations League 2019 versus Copa America 2019. Well, ain't this interesting? It's basically barely present but great when present versus always present but shite. And well, it is quality over quantity at the end of the day. Also, Portugal did win the whole thing. Not to mention Ronnie scored one of the best hat-tricks from an aesthetics point of view in recent memory. So it's kinda hard to say anything other than point Ronaldo. Number 10, Euro 2021 versus Copa 2021. So as much as this was another banger versus banger, it still feels kind of wrong to say that, because that would basically imply their tournaments were on the same level. They weren't, because you see, as brilliant as Ronaldo was game to game in what was probably his toughest tournament ever in terms of average level of opponent, Messi's Copa 2021 just happened to be the best of his career, with the rest of the players deciding to chase every ball and make it as comfortable as they can for the main man. Messi was given the freedom to express himself and genuinely turn in one of the greatest individual tournament campaigns I've ever seen. Point Messi. Number 11, the 2022 World Cup. So as far as online trolls go, this was a pretty underrated tournament for Ronaldo, as in many of these idiots think he was about a 2 out of 10, when in reality he was actually closer to a 4. And it was an overrated tournament for Messi, as in many of these idiots think he was a 9 out of 10, when in reality he was closer to a 7. Which, as you can hopefully see, still means there was no competition on who had the better competition, because a year on from basically being carried to a Copa America trophy by him in 2021, Messi's teammates damn sure repaid him by carrying him on occasions in World Cup 2022, i.e. score crucial goals when he fumbled his lines and missed a penalty when they were on the brink of elimination, win crucial but questionable penalties and open the game up when he was being completely marked out and failing to find space, and make crucial saves in extra time when he was caught napping on the way to an opposition goal that brought on extra time in the first place. These lads were on a mission. All for what will probably be generational Messi fanboys to sing about how Messi carried them to that World Cup. Bro, I don't care how much they love Leo. Some of these men must be pissed when they see these loser comments online. But don't get it twisted though, Leo wasn't carried all the way. He'd have to wait a couple of years for that honor. But yeah, in 2022, he damn sure played his part. I mean, the sheer mind games alone of stepping up to take every single one of those penalties at the world stage, bro, that really shouldn't be overlooked. Besides, who could forget that world-class assist against the Netherlands, and of course, my personal favorite, the goal against Mexico. Point Messi. Number 12, Euro 2024 versus Copa 2024. You may not think this, but this was actually one of the tougher matchups to judge. And I'm sorry, but in terms of the individual levels of performance, i.e. doing the job they were given to do within a system, Ronaldo is ahead. Watch this for more info. But even then, I can't be a hypocrite, because as I've said many times before, collective success is the ultimate goal. Point Messi. Final score, Messi 4, Ronaldo 8. And that is that. Agree or disagree beats indifference. Once again, don't forget to like and share. Try to leave a comment that holds at least some sort of merit instead of exposing your IQ and or age. And of course, subscribe. Till next time, you keep rolling.